Massachusetts.
That's correct.
And so what got you interested in Mars?
Well, I guess what got me interested in Mars was really the rover mission in 1996. Goodness, almost said 2006. I saw a planetarium show about the Sojourner rover on the Pathfinder mission. I was like, I need to work on some kind of spacecraft on Mars. I don't know how many do this, but that's when I started loving Mars. But I liked space a lot way before then.
When you were, I read that when you were littler, you actually went to a museum, or to where they had a telescope.
Yes, so it was actually a local university. My parents took me to an observing night to see Halley's Comet, which I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it has a really short period, so it actually comes back every 76 years or something. So that was in 1986. I was 7 years old, and so we had a public lecture, and I didn't really pay attention to that, but during, like, we go up to the roof and we looked through the telescope, and my mind was blown. I was like, oh, that's a thing that is in space, and I had never thought of the sky as being anything but a dome before. And now I'm like, wow, there's stuff out there. So that got me hooked.
So what project do you work with your actual rover, which is actually called Curiosity?
That's right. So I actually work on one instrument on that rover that's called ChemCam, which I will talk a lot more about tonight. But this is a laser that can vaporize rocks on a spaceship. That's my job.
So what did you have to learn in order to be a part of this program?
A lot of things to learn. So I'm primarily a geologist, so I had to learn a lot about rocks, because that's what we study on Mars for the most part. And then I also had to learn about this laser technique. So it's called Laser-Induced Breakdown Spectroscopy, or LIBS, you'll hear me say. That's the acronym. So I had to learn all about that. And when I started graduate school, I had never heard of that. I had no idea what that was. And so I had to start from the beginning. So it took me a while to get up to speed, but I did. So, and then there's all kinds of stuff you need to know about too. You need to know a lot of chemistry. Certainly you need to know physics. So there's a lot of things.
Are there any kind of rocks on here on Earth that match those on Mars?
Yeah, actually there are meteorites that have fallen from Mars to the Earth. So there'll be a big impact on Mars that will blow a lot of rocks out into space. And there'll be, some of them will go into orbit. Some of them will go into an unstable orbit and eventually fall into the Earth. So we've actually found, I think, the count is up in the 50s. So there are 50-something rocks that we know came from Mars that are on Earth.
Have you been able to experiment on any of these rocks?
Yeah, I actually shot one maybe a few months ago. There's a new Martian meteorite. They just found it in Morocco. And it's never before seen kind of composition. It's totally different, but it's really like the place where we landed on Mars with Curiosity. And so I actually got to shoot some of this meteorite with my laser, and it was great. So we're working on that analysis right now.
I also read that it took you, that all throughout high school you never even thought of going into geology, and it wasn't until you got into college when you started taking every course, everything you could in your senior year also. Well,
yeah, it wasn't even geology. I didn't even take till I went to grad school. I had never taken geology. So I was an astronomy major, and I was really excited because that's how you study space, right? Astronomy. But I realized my senior year that, I took this course, and I realized, like, oh my goodness, if I want to study the surface of Mars, I need to know something about rocks. So eventually I decided to go back to school in a totally different subject, having never taken it before.
In your previous years on the program, have you found anything very interesting that caught your eye?
You mean on Mars right now? Yeah, I mean, where to begin? There's so many interesting things on Mars. I think the first big discovery, really, of this mission is that there's a lot of water on Mars, a lot more than we thought. And it's not necessarily in big lakes or rivers, but there's water right now. We also just put a lander in the polar regions, and a few inches beneath the surface, there's ice there. So maybe the water is not gone altogether. Maybe it's just buried, and we just can't see it.
Have you found any other sources of life on Mars?
What's a source of life, right?
I would say any signs of life, any previous marks.
So we see chemistries that are, that could be consistent with life. We see nothing that is definitely shows us there was life on Mars. So in order, that's a big claim, so you need big proof. So right now we don't have that. But certainly Mars looks like a place where life could live. Life from Earth could live on Mars right now, actually. But maybe not us. We wouldn't be as happy there. But certainly a lot of microbes, a lot of plants like lichen would love it there. Would grow very happily. So it's still habitable. We just don't know if it's inhabited.
Okay, thank you, and I look forward to listening to your presentation.
Great. Thanks for the great interview.